Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up, we head to Louth to learn more about the history of the Lincolnshire Railway. And we have another dog looking for its forever home in Dog of the Week. And my guest is Ted Johnson, chairman of the Grimsby and Louth Ramblers, who's here to talk about the Silver Links Way. Welcome to Estuary News. I'm Emma Lingard. But first, here's Dan Kemp with the news headlines.
Hello there. After a campaign that went viral, it appears singer Ed Sheeran may be appearing for Tracy Hendrickson's wedding. The Sing for Tracy H social media campaign saw thousands tweet the singer, asking him to perform his song Thinking Out Loud, as the lyrics had a personal meaning for Tracy, who suffers from lupus. In a statement to her Facebook followers, Tracy said Ed's management team had been in touch and hoped something could be done closer to the wedding later this year. Voluntary group Friends of the Brigg and Lincoln Lines is taking its fight for replacement footbridge with disabled access at Brigg Station to Network Rail. They tell us passenger feedback has been resounding, with people saying they would be more likely to use the Brigg service if the bridge was disability friendly. Campaigners have this solution.
It's £300,000 to replace the footbridge. They're also wanting to do the same at Gainsborough Central, and we said you could have a disabled access footbridge here, which would cost £500,000. At Gainsborough Central you take out the footbridge, but you leave the crossing and have an electronic sort of a magnetic gate with traffic lights, which would cost £100,000. So you could do both within the obviously financial timescale, and everybody's satisfied.
Some of Britain's most famous cyclists are set to ride Lincolnshire's roads. Mark Cavendish and Dame Sarah Estuary will be amongst the riders when the British National Road Championships head to the county on Thursday the 25th and Sunday the 28th of this month. Councillor Roger Patterson of West Lindsey District Council is hoping the publicity will help to showcase the area nationally.
Hopefully if people see it on television and see the beauty of it and the warmth of the people, hopefully out cheering them on and everything else, hope people will look at this part of the country and think, I wouldn't mind going there.
And a local Women's Institute branch is celebrating this weekend. The Thornton Curtis WI is hosting a garden party in the village on Saturday to celebrate the national centenary of the organisation and the 94th anniversary of their own branch. Past President Helen Welsh told us why it was important people celebrate the milestone.
Yeah, I mean, it's great publicity for the WI anyway, and hopefully we'll attract lots of new members. And, I mean, there's something for everybody in the WI. And it's up to you how much you do. You can do as little as you want and do as much as you want.
And it's really just to show that the WI isn't all jam and Jerusalem. It actually is about a group of people who enjoy having fun together and each other's company.
That's all for now. More news soon.
Thank you, Dan. Grimsby and Louth Ramblers was formed in 1980, and in 2005, which was their silver anniversary, they launched a 25-mile flagship walk, the Silver Links Way. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the walk, and to celebrate, they're encouraging others to join them. And with me in the studio is their chairman, Ted Johnson. Ted, welcome to the programme. Now, before we talk about the Silver Links Way anniversary and what you're doing there, just talk to me about the Ramblers Club, because you've been going since 1980, which is a big achievement, isn't it? Why did it? What was it set up for? What was the purpose?
Well, it was like-minded people wanting to walk together, and that's basically it. We're trying to encourage people to walk and enjoy the beautiful county of Lincolnshire.
It is a beautiful county, isn't it? With so much from flat to hills. Yeah. How many members have you currently got?
Oh, about 375.
Wow. And do you all go out en masse?
Well, yesterday we had two walks. We had a walk from Scamblesbid, and there was 30 on that, and there was another walk from Laysby, and I don't know the figures, but it's somewhere in the 20s.
Right.
So there's 50 or 60 on these walks.
I mean, that is good, because this is it. Imagine trying to get everybody together anyway is probably nigh impossible because of people's sort of like diaries. I mean, how often does the group meet then?
Well, we have a regular walk on a Wednesday, alternate Sundays. During the summer, we've got evening walks on a Tuesday evening.
Okay.
And once a month we have our tea shop walk on a Saturday.
Right. Oh, I bet that's very pleasant. Tea and cake.
Yes.
At the very end of the walk.
Oh, indeed.
And I mean, as a group, I mean, do you have sort of like mixed ages as well?
Yes, indeed. We encourage anybody to come.
Yeah.
On a Wednesday, it does tend to be the more elderly spectrum because of the people retired. But obviously, come half term or something like that, you do tend to get the age does tend to come down a bit. Age range comes down a bit.
But this is it. There are so many people who are retired that it's a great thing to be able to keep active, isn't it? As well.
Yes, you get your activity, you get your walking, your exercise.
Yeah.
You get the views, and you get conversation.
Yeah.
And well, some people never stop.
And I mean, the walks that you do they vary in length as well? Because I imagine they're not really keen active ramblers that want to do long distances. Do you do shorter walks?
Well, the Tuesday evening walks are really sort of trying to attract members, and they're about 4 miles.
Right.
We have regular walks of 6, and then the tea shop walk is 6, 7, 8s, 10s, 15s, and then occasionally 25 is where to talk about.
And again, with the walks, do people do them at their own pace as well? There's not like, oh, we've got to do this and it's a marching pace.
No, we try and keep together. We operate a system with a back marker.
Right.
And to me, the most important person on a walk when I'm leading is the back marker. I like to know where they are.
Yes. Yeah.
Occasionally, not so much with our group, if we're leading walks in the World's Walking Festival, we may even have to have a middle marker.
Right, when the groups are big sizes,
So to keep in contact.
Yeah. And I presume everybody that comes along, that they have a passion for walking, but maybe a love of the countryside as well.
Yes, indeed.
Because like you say, Lincolnshire is a fascinating place, isn't it?
You just don't know what you're going to see. You know, it can be the nature, or if we're on the Wolds in the winter, in particular, we have the Red Arrows doing their practice flights. We can watch those.
Of course. I mean, what better way to see them, isn't it, when they're doing their practicing? Well, you're going to stay with us because when we come back to you, we're going to obviously talk about the Silver Links Way, which is your big anniversary walk. So stay where you are, Ted. You're watching Estuary News. Coming up, there's another dog needing a new home in Dog of the Week. And Dan Kemp returns with the sports news. Now, many people, me included, will remember the train line which ran from Grimsby to Louth and beyond. Now, Louth Museum is currently hosting an exhibition looking at the history of the Lincolnshire Wolds Railway. The exhibits hope to remind people of the history of the station at Louth, which closed to passengers in 1970. Richard Morris steamed along to find out more.
The Lincolnshire Railway routes through Louth may well have closed 45 years ago, but the history and heritage still resonate with many local enthusiasts. An exhibition running at the Louth Museum aims to reconnect those memories with artefacts from the past.
It was a main line, and it had important traffic on it, like fish traffic from Grimsby to London, which was given priority. So it was an interesting line, and Louth was a centre on that line. In fact, at one time, the railway was the biggest employer in Louth.
The artefacts weren't too difficult to source.
Well, we've tried to pick things which were in some way related to Louth. It seemed obvious, you know, coming to the Louth Museum. That was the criteria, really. We have a museum at Ludborough. That's where the society is centred. And we've got quite a lot of stuff relating to Louth.
Martin Chapman, the chair of Louth Museum, says the exhibition will be running for a few weeks.
This particular exhibition should be running for 4 weeks approximately, and we run different exhibitions throughout the year, with usually about 4 or possibly 5 per year, in order to try and show something different and get different clientele in all the time to see something of interest. We're now talking and planning 2016's exhibitions, and this one's been in the planning with the Lincolnshire Wales Railway for many months actually. In fact, the autumn of last year we started planning it.
Louth Museum is open Wednesday to Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Now, still with me in the studio is Ted Johnson from the Grimsby and Louth Ramblers. And before that, we were obviously talking about the group and how it's set up. But the Silver Links Way, celebrating its 10th anniversary this year, and it obviously goes from Grimsby to Louth. Why did you do this particular route?
Well, we wanted something to mark the anniversary, and this was the obvious one.
Yeah. To
actually link the two towns. There wasn't anything documented about doing this, so that's why we set out. And 25 obviously was the obvious distance, in spite of that leaflet saying it's World Newton is equal to equidistance at 10 miles.
Now, how many times have you walked this route?
In its entirety, only 3. But I'm hoping to do it again.
Yeah.
A week on Saturday.
Yeah.
But I've walked all of that and all its associated ones many, many times.
I mean, were you involved then in the initial sort of like planning of this route for this one?
Well, it was my idea, and I must say, right, blow my own trumpet. And I did most of the planning and setting it up. And then I got other members to walk the route from my little notes.
Yeah.
To make sure everything was accurate.
I was going to say, because this is it, I mean, you've got a leaflet here. We'll just open this up so you can see. I mean, it takes its way, doesn't it? You go from Scartho, isn't that where you start?
Yes, indeed.
On this way to, do we go through Barnelby, Brigsley, East Ravendale, all the way?
Wold Newton.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a lot of planning, isn't it, to make sure they all match up and
well, yes, it's also important to find the footpaths that you can link it all.
Yeah. This
was the biggest problem.
Right.
You know, you can't do a straight line because there's no footpath.
And I mean, one aspect of the group, I mean, do you check that footpaths are accessible and still fit for purpose as well?
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
On our walks, you know, every walk leader writes a report, a short report of where they've been, how many have been on it, and any problems encountered.
Right, yeah.
And all our members are encouraged, if they find a problem, to report it.
Okay, yes.
Which they can do through our website.
Right, yeah. Because that is an important thing, is it, to keep the footpath still open and used, isn't it?
That's the most important thing.
Yeah. I mean, would you say as a group that you've probably walked every single footpath in the county? And when I talk about the county, I'm talking about North East, North Lincolnshire, Lincolnshire. 3 counties.
Not in our group area, right? Would you believe that there are 1,100 kilometres squares on the Ordnance Survey map?
Right.
And a few years ago, the national organisation, the Ramblers, asked us all to check them all.
Right.
By each square,
yeah.
Each kilometre square. So obviously, if you've got more than one path, it's a bit confusing.
Big
and
feat.
Joan and I, my wife and I, walked the vast majority of them, but other members helped out. But
yeah, wow. You get through all that to check them. And I know, talking about the Silver Links Way, you obviously then produced another leaflet with circular walks off the main one. So if people didn't want to do the full 25 miles, they can pick up and choose what they want, can't they?
Yes, and they're very detailed there, with maps and instructions.
Yeah. I mean, is there any aspect, you know, because there are so many walks, you must have a favourite. Obviously, the Silver Links Way must be one of your favourites. What would
Actually,
you say would be your
to
all-time
me,
favourite?
In this area, it's walking from Tilby to Walesby.
Right, yes, that's
because
very
you really get
beautiful.
the impact of the wolds and what they're about, the rolling wolds. And then you've got, of course, the things along the way, the long wool sheep, the Ramblers Church and everything, and the deer park.
Yeah.
So
it is. It's a beautiful place to be, isn't it?
Oh, indeed.
And encouraging more people. Well, if people want to do this walk, it takes place on Saturday, June the 27th, and you're going from Louth to Grimsby.
Yes, starting at about 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, and if people want more details, they can go to your website, can't they? Which is Grimsby Louth Ramblers, and that is all one word, .org.co.uk. Well, thank you ever so much, Ted, for coming in, and good luck with the walk. Thank you. Now it's time for Dog of the Week. Can you give this canine its forever home?
Dog number 6 is called Lady, born 2014, so still really a young dog. She's a Staffy Cross Jack Russell, just coming into season, so obviously she'll come with a neutering voucher so we can get her spayed straight away, and just a lovely friendly little dog.
Well, joining me in the studio now to talk through what's been happening in the area is Dan Kemp. Dan, what have you found out
What
today?
have I found out? Well, firstly, East Riding of Yorkshire Council are increasing their patrols for dog fouling.
Do you know dog fouling?
This will be one that will get you going.
Oh, I don't let my dogs foul the pavement, though, I have to say.
But if they do,
I would pick it up.
Well, exactly. And they're putting on the Big Scoop 2015. Well, sorry, they're not putting on. It's a national event, the Big Scoop 2015.
Okay.
And East Riding of Yorkshire Council, as part of that, are putting on extra patrols to make sure that it's not happening.
Do they? I mean, is there any? Have they ever fined people for dog fouling?
Yes, of course. Yeah, there's a fine of £75 for fixed penalties and up to
Right.
£1,000 if it goes to court. So I would have thought that's people that maybe are persistent offenders or
But
don't
yeah,
pay
just
the
imagine,
fines.
because I know when I've been out walking my dog, and let's say, I'm walking around the streets, I've never seen anybody handing out fines. So how do they do it?
I have absolutely no idea. I've also been walking dogs and I've never seen anyone.
I've seen notices in Grimsby, I have to say, saying that this area is being patrolled.
You get the little yellow dogs that are sometimes like stamped onto the pavement.
Yes, yeah.
That's the nearest I've got to
it. Okay, so that's going to be happening, but that's a nationwide
So the next
thing.
couple of weeks, and it's been supported by the Dogs Trust and Keep Britain Tidy as well.
Okay, good.
Okay.
They're handing out free poo bags.
I
No?
don't know, maybe. I think that would be a very good idea.
Just thought, the amount of people that sometimes may go out with their dogs and clearly not have a poo bag on them.
But another problem I've noticed is people collecting poo in poo bags and then putting them in a tree.
And now that's it. I was going to say, when I'm sure Ted and the Ramblers group come across those little art formations in hedgerows.
I think I'd almost prefer them just to leave the poo.
Can't win, can you?
You
Right.
can't win.
Next story.
Yeah, next up, this is a story that you'll probably know more about than I do. 75 years since the Lancastrian troop ship was attacked.
That was. Yesterday was the 75th anniversary of the Lancastrian, yeah.
You can tell I'm not a historian. Attacked by the Germans.
Talking about history, what is it today? It's the 200th anniversary of the
Waterloo. Battle of Waterloo. I had a history lesson today.
They have had a history lesson today because I was appalled that they didn't know about the Napoleonic Wars.
I knew they happened.
I hope my dad's watching. He'll
And
tell you all about
anyway,
it.
we'll move on from that. Lancastrian.
Yeah, go on the Lancastrian, yes.
Yes, was
Grimsby Fisher.
attacked. Yeah, by the Germans in France. Apparently.
It was, and that was covered up by the British government, that, because it was the biggest, I think, maritime disaster. 4,000 men and only 1,000 people were saved by the Cambridgeshire, which was skippered by Grimsby trawlerman Billy Euston and his chief engineer, was it Charlie Beasley?
I don't know.
So no, because
I didn't know that.
I was chatting to some people on the Grimsby
George.
fishing group yesterday about
George
it.
Beasley.
I think because I'd heard that the three had received medals for their heroics for that, but nobody came back with an answer. So I don't know whether the crew of the Cambridgeshire did receive a medal for
Mystery
saving.
continues.
I know the people. Anyway, moving on. What's your next?
Yes, this is Gary Verity, who was the
towards
I suppose the
Yorkshire?
head of Welcome to Yorkshire.
Okay.
And he's been given a knighthood
Okay.
by the Queen in her birthday honours.
For his services to cycling, is it?
Well, I think it's his services to tourism more generally, but he was
Okay.
responsible for bringing the Tour de France, the grander part of the Tour de France to
Okay.
Yorkshire last year.
And rather quickly, because they're telling me to move on, what's your favourite beach?
What's my favourite beach? Filey.
Filey. Is that on
Filey.
your top 10 list
That
of
is
favourite beaches?
that is one of the top 11 within 90 minutes of Hull.
There you go. Thank you ever so much, Dan,
Okay.
for that. Now, Dan's going to do a sprint because it's that time again. It's over to the sport.
Reports are suggesting that Hull City would not stand in the way of striker Nikita Jelavic leaving the club this summer. The Tigers paid Everton around £7 million 18 months ago, and speculation is now gathering pace that the Croatian international could move to Turkish club Trabzonspor or the Middle East. We'll keep you updated on developments. And the club have also announced that 2 further pre-season games will take place. The Tigers will play German Bundesliga club Hannover 96 and Saudi Pro League side Al Ain. Both games to be played in Austria on Sunday the 26th and Wednesday the 29th of July. After already a decade at Scunthorpe United, youngster Levi Sutton is hoping to make a big impression. Now he's signed his first professional deal. Sutton has signed a 1-year contract at Glanford Park, with the club retaining the option to extend by a further year. Hull KR halfback Terry Campese will miss the remainder of the season after rupturing his anterior cruciate ligament. The Robins captain left the field 2 weeks ago in the game against the Castleford Tigers and is set for 6 months on the sidelines. Early speculation is suggesting that Parramatta Eels' Chris Sandow is being linked to plug the gap. Yorkshire batsman Joe Root hit an unbeaten century as England beat New Zealand in the 4th one-day international at Trent Bridge. Root hit 106 from just 97 balls, including 13 fours. Bowler Adil Rashid picked up 1 wicket. And this Sunday sees the Battle of the Birds as local American football side the Humber Warhawks take on the Leicester Falcons. The game kicks off at Hollensians Rugby Club at 2:30. That's all for now. Don't forget you can get in touch by calling 01472 31 553. And that's all for the sport.
That's all we've got time for. Thanks to Ted Johnson from the Grimsby and Louth Ramblers group, and that walk takes place on the 27th of June if you want to join them. If you have a news story, then go to our Facebook or Twitter pages, details on the screen, or email news@estuary.tv. Until tomorrow, good night.
Estuary TV's weather, sponsored by Hornsby's, celebrating 100 years in buses.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. A cloudy Friday this week, with some light rain, most places staying dry and sometimes bright. Rain and showers all day Saturday.
Estuary TV's weather, sponsored by Hornsby's, celebrating 100 years in buses.